Hello snowboarders of the internet, I am your host TC and today I will be reviewing the K2 edition. I rode this binding at Copper Mountain where it was a beautiful sunny day. It started off a little bit colder in the morning where there were some icy spots, that sort of thing, but as the day went on the sun warmed everything up. It got nice and slushy where the groomers actually got better as the day went on because you could really trust that edge you were setting into it. But I used my Ride Fuse boots and my Jones Aviator 2.0. This binding has plenty of adjustments to it, so you can get it to fit that boot and pretty much center on that board perfectly. So just starting from the top and working our way down, you have that forward lean adjuster on the high back here, nice and simple, flip it down, push down, flip it back up, a little more forward lean, that sort of thing. If you want your ankle strap to sit a little bit higher on your boot, more on that ankle as opposed to more on your instep, you can actually unscrew these and slide it back to this little square piece back here. It might be hard to see, but when you get it in front of you, take a peek for yourself. When it comes to adjusting the straps, just a simple flip tab. It does take a little bit more. I recommend having your glove on for it because I kind of scraped my thumb up a little bit with it, but it's not gonna move once you get it set. Now when you work your way down to the toes here, it does have a push pin system on it, so you can get it centered on top of your boot, over the toe, really however you want it to sit on there, it will for you. And then once you come back to the heel cup area here, you do have these two little screws on each side. That'll help you twist the high back to get a little bit more rotation on it if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not, as you guys know. Or you can micro adjust it to get this a little bit more snug on the heel cup, give you a little bit extra room there so you can actually center that boot perfectly. And finally, you can adjust this toe ramp as well. Just pop these two tabs that hold it down, slide it forward, get a little bit more toe lift there so you're not booting out or anything like that. The molded straps on the Edition here are gonna be definitely on that firmer end of the spectrum there, where they're gonna allow a little bit side to side play, but all of the padding is gonna be coming from your boot. So if you need a little bit extra padding, this isn't gonna be the strap for you. But when we're talking toe here, it does fit over any toe box pretty well, I would say, where my square toe box fit. Make sure you get the toe placement set before you actually mount the binding to the board, just because you can adjust it just to get it perfectly centered. If you want it over the toe, make sure you get everything perfect. Otherwise, it might be a little off center. You might feel some pressure points then, but honestly, once I got them like perfectly centered, I didn't feel any pressure points. I even rocked it on top of the toe and it did just fine for me. This little cap here stretches quite a bit, but you still feel really locked in when you're going heel to toe with it. On the ankle here, it is gonna be a bigger strap, so it does disperse that weight really well. And if you do get last click syndrome like myself, it really doesn't affect anything where you're not feeling this buckle or like this whole housing for the buckle like dig into your ankle or anything like that. It disperses that pressure really well. The ratchets on this binding work really well. I mean, they're standard ratchets. They're nice and easy to grip. The release works extremely well on them. You can just click it with one finger here. And there really isn't much to write home about after riding them for the whole day, really just cranking these things down. I didn't get any dig or any wear on the ladders here. As you can tell, you could probably see it in the video, there's nothing missing from these. There's no chunks out of them. So these things work. They're gonna get you in and out. They're gonna keep you in place. They're standard ratchet that works awesome. While you're here, make sure you subscribe, click that bell, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any videos we have coming out. This high back, when you just twist it in your hand, feels crazy soft. Like, look at how easy this is for me. When you actually put it on your foot, it feels much different. It feels extremely responsive with a little lateral play. So when you're going heel toe on it, it is there. You feel it right on that heel side where it's just holding you, gripping you in, helping you just hold that heel side edge. When you're going toe side, same thing. Now when you go to tweak or you go in the air, anything like that, you definitely feel this thing actually moving with you, so it doesn't fight you or anything like that, but you'll just notice it's there. And then pretty much just like I mentioned before, you do have the high back adjuster here, so you can get a little bit more forward lean on it. And then on the sides here, you can rotate it if that is your sort of thing, but I don't recommend it. You don't really have to. overall a nice stiff high back that's not gonna be too much, where you can still take it into the park and really tweak out those methods on. This binding doesn't have a crazy amount of flex to it, where laterally you do get some play, but I don't even know if I'd actually call it play. You get a little bit of movement really when you get down to it. When you're going heel toe, it's not gonna really flex, it's just gonna stay there. So when you go heel, it'll go heel. When you go toe, it'll go toe with you. That flex underfoot is gonna be because of this pod system, which you can't really tell here, but underneath your heel and the toes here, it does have a pod system to allow it to kind of roll over with it with the board, so it's not just causing a flex zone in the board and cracking your top sheet like some bindings do. Curtain. Pretty much right when I strapped into this binding, the first thing I felt, get that out of the way. First thing I felt was the toe and the heel pods. These urethane pods pretty much transfer all of that energy you're putting into your heel and toe movements straight to the board. So instead of having that soft EVA foam underneath the footbed and underneath the chassis here, it really allows that energy transfer to go right to the board, so you're not missing any time or any response there. Apart from that, it was a very smooth ride. Those pods didn't really bother me at all. It just felt a little firmer, nothing crazy to write home about, but they were nice and damp. So I wasn't feeling all those micro vibrations, my feet weren't going to sleep or anything on those icy spots in the morning. It really just cut down on all of that nasty crud that I was feeling. So overall, a great ride on them, where you might notice those pods, but just think of it in a good way, where exactly where you put that edge, it's gonna go. Rider in mind, this binding is definitely going to be for that more advanced rider that is going on some technical terrain. They pretty much need this thing to keep them locked in with the board, but they still want to have a little bit lateral movement when they're throwing tricks, butters, presses, all of that stuff. They don't want to just totally be stationary. They want to be able to shift their weight around. But definitely that more advanced rider that needs to get more out of their binding. If you want to support us further, head on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. Sure, I could explain it here, but we have a great video over there getting into it really in depth. I enjoyed this binding. It was a binding that I felt very used to, where honestly it felt a lot like the Ride C8 to me, but from previous years I would say, where it's nice and damp, it's responsive, gives me a little bit of lateral play to it, but I can still get really aggressive and charge the mountain on it. Honestly, K2 has stepped up their binding so much since their previous generations that I'm super impressed with them. Like, this is definitely one of those bindings and that you can ride for a long time and not really have to worry about, is shit gonna break on you? Am I gonna be able to find any replacements? They're definitely stepping their binding game up for sure. Comparable bindings, the Ride C8, the Jones Mercury, and the Salomon Highlander. This has been my review of the K2 edition. If you liked it, make sure you go check out one of the reviews for the comparable bindings.